Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of Blue Sicx Tarot. I'm your host, Blue Sicx. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Blue Sicx Tarot, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, a subscription, and click that bell notification, so anytime I upload a video, you get a notification. That way, it's me helping you, helping me, helping you. Aha! So this video is actually a video response to a hashtag on YouTube of TarotTubers, and I came across this video by Katey Flowers, and I'll leave a link in the description. And in this video she does two hashtags, so I'm responding to the first one, and then I'll be doing a follow-up about next week maybe. Okay, so this TarotTuber hashtag is basically another general answering questions. So the first question I have is what made you start wanting to do tarot YouTube videos? Now I think I may have answered this question before, so if any of you have heard these questions before, apologies, I'm just going on the script here. So I started doing tarot videos because I've always wanted to, well, just talk about tarot. I've gotten into it quite a lot in the last few years, and so I decided I wanted to make some form of content. Now most of my entertainment now is YouTube and podcasts, but the thing about podcasts is it'd be a very kind of one-sided conversation, because at the time there wasn't a lot of people I knew personally who would either be interested to do a podcast or basically have enough time to do them. So I thought I'd have to do something on my own, but it'd be a one-sided conversation. And as I said before, I watch a lot of YouTubers in general, and not really about tarot, and I find them entertaining. And once again, I still want to talk about them, but I never found, when I watched a few tarot videos, they were just a standard flick through videos, and they were fine, but I didn't really find them necessarily engaging or entertaining. And so at that point I had the Welcome to Night Vale Tarot, and online there wasn't any reviews about them, any written reviews, they're all YouTube. So I just thought, I'll just do it that way. I like talking about them, and in that way I can talk about the card decks that I really enjoy. Other people get to experience them, and it's a visual medium, so people can actually look at the cards, whilst a podcast you wouldn't necessarily get that sort of thing going on. So that's kind of the main reason I started YouTube. So the next question is, what's the tarot scene like in your area? Now I'm quite fortunate because there is a tarot group I go to called Crystal Light. They have a website, crystallightcircle.co.uk. Give that a look. And so in my local town there's about 2 other people I know. So there's not a lot of people within within like a mile or two, but then there is Junk and Disorderly a few miles down the road from where I live, and I get on well with the people who works there. Holly the Happy Hippie on Instagram runs the store, and she's definitely worth checking out. So it just like round the corner style, there's about 2 people, but in my larger area there's a few. I wouldn't necessarily call it a large community, but there are quite a few people I kind of gotten to know over the last few years. So I wouldn't necessarily, it's big, but then I can't imagine there being like a massive community, at least in this sort of area in which I live in London. So I would imagine there's not going to be many inner cities that would have a large community. There'd just be like pockets here and there, but it's not big, but it's enough. It's big enough, I'd say. Okay, so this next question is quite tricky. It's, what tarot do you think is overrated and underrated? And that's a tough question, because I don't really follow what goes on in the tarot community overall. Just kind of, I'm on Instagram and stuff, so I kind of look at decks there, but finding something that's overrated or underrated is very tricky. I mean, personally, a deck I'd say is overrated, and I'm not going to be popular for saying this, is probably the Rider-Waite-Smith. Because I like the deck. It's alright, but it's, how should I phrase this? It's very bland. I mean, half of the problem, the reason I think it's so dull and bland is because it's like one of like, it's the grandfather of tarot, I guess. It's not the first, but it's one of the most used. And it's that thing of it being the most popular and most well liked from what I've seen. It feels like, yeah, they're alright, but these aren't for me. But then finding a deck that's overrated or underrated is obviously something like this is going to be purely personal. But I do feel that it's kind of, there's so many different versions of the Rider-Waite-Smith just because of the artwork. You've got the standard, then you've got the coloured, then you've got like the one that looks like it's done by pencil, then the one that looks like it's done by thicker paints. And it's that thing of, if this deck was really that good, you wouldn't want to keep recolouring it even though you're keeping the same artwork. Yeah, I do kind of think they're overrated. One that's underrated, I think, is also a very tricky question just because there's so many. So I kind of just had to pick a deck that I don't hear about but really like. So the Scarabino did their own, just the Scarabino Tarot, and the artwork on there is really good. Once again, based off the Riders, but kind of their own version, and it has a bit of the what's it called? It has a bit of the original tarot in it as well, which name eludes me right now. And if I was better at this, I would have probably cut this out and then read it up and then come back, but I'm too lazy. But it's got a lot of the pips as well. So you've got, I can't think, for example, you'd have the Four of Cups, and there is a guy at a bar with some just kind of looking miserable, and then you've got a picture of the actual pips on the wall, or the Two of Wands had a man with two poles, and behind him is a tapestry of the original as the background, and it does stuff like that, which I think is really good. So it kind of blends the two archetypal tarot kind of into one, and I've not come across a lot of people talking about it. I mean, for all I know, it's probably like the most popular one, but I've not come across a lot of people talking about it. So I think I would say that's quite underrated, just because I don't seem to see anyone talk about it. It's Tarot de Marseille. I had to do it. It was Tarot de Marseille. But yeah, it was a good blend. I had to check it up in my book. I just couldn't remember what it's called. Okay, so the next question is tarot in one word. Now, I'd already watched Katey talk about this, and so as she was reading the question, I yelled out a one-word answer, which was her one-word answer, which was also someone else's one-word answer, and it'll probably be your one-word answer as well. Put it in one word: fun. Because I have so much joy in using tarot. It is so much fun. There's so much, as I said, there's so much imagery, so much artwork, so much connection you get with a selected deck. I mean, even if you get a deck that you don't really gel with, it's still interesting just to kind of get the different experience, because obviously not everything is for everyone. And I can't imagine being without them now. And they are just fun. And I mean, if I was to pick a second word, it would be expensive. But that's more down to being a collector rather than just a reader. And I'm not getting rid of any of my new cards now. I'm keeping them all, but I'm making sure I'm being buried with all of them. Although I'm planning to be cremated, that might not be a good thing. So the next it's not really a question, but the next thing is name 3 small YouTube channels that do tarot. And as I've said before, there's not that many tarot channels I watch. when I consider watching entertainment on YouTube, I don't necessarily find the tarot channels entertaining, so I'm usually going for more the mainstream stuff. So I think almost all of the channels I follow who do tarot are relatively small. So we've got Ickle Sunflower. I'll put a description at the bottom there. We met on Instagram, and so we chat on there every now and again, and she commented a few of my videos, and thank you very much if you're watching this. There is also Tarot Tidbits 78. She's just started up, and she does just deck throughs at the moment, and she's going to be doing some more later. Once again, we met on Instagram. She's also worth following. She does what I do, card a day. Whilst I choose the same deck for the week, she has 7 decks, 1 card per deck per day. So you'll always get a new deck with her regardless of when you go on. So she's worth checking out. And there's also Grail Seeker Tarot Shop on Instagram and YouTube. I do quite like a lot of her videos as well. She does give me a lot of shout outs and retweets and stuff, and mentions me a lot on Instagram. So the least I can do as a thank you is to mention your channel here. And I said, and she does have good, nice channel, still budding, and she does a lot of interesting deck reviews. She did a good video on steampunk tarot. They're pretty cool. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend check those out. I'll also leave a link in the description for you to check those channels out as well. They're definitely worth it. And they're all on Instagram as well, so check them out. So the next question is, what's your favourite type of video, tarot video on YouTube? I'm going to be repeating myself a lot. As I said, I don't really watch a lot, so, and I do come across, the ones I do come across do kind of have that same feel to them. Most of the ones I come across do like the flick shuffle and just go through the entire deck. I do prefer them when there's a bit of conversation. I don't necessarily want to see the entire deck, because once you go past like 20 cards, you've basically seen the deck, which is why in my last few videos when I do tarot reviews, I've tried to break them down so you're not being bored with it. So I do like the ones that kind of like Ickle Sunflower. Her videos would have a few different decks, so you wouldn't necessarily see through the entire deck, but you see enough of them and you get enough feeling of the artwork. So I guess I prefer either the short reviews where you don't necessarily see the whole thing, or it's several decks in one video and the video's like 10 minutes because you don't necessarily need 20 minutes to look through an entire deck. So those who kind of get to the point, really. The next one is, what would you think, say or do if tarot didn't suddenly exist? So I guess I'd close down my YouTube channel first off. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of other hobbies I have on the side of this. As a bit of a self-brag promotion, I used to do modelling as a hobby until I got my Bell's palsy. So I've actually done a photo shoot for like coming up for 2 years. But I mean, I'd probably focus. I mean, I'm hopefully getting back to that in January. So hopefully, I would probably just be focusing on that. I also do circus performances, so I'd still be doing something of creativity. So I'd be bummed out by that, but I'd find other things. I mean, I'd also just be an excuse to kind of focus more on reading runes and other things. So it does specifically say about tarot. So I'd probably just close down my YouTube channel and probably just mainly focus and try and learn on runes and try and do it that way, because I've been doing it with tarot so much for so many years now that I'd still have to do something, but I'd probably still be doing some of my other side hobbies. So the next question is, do you use tarot apps? I have in the past, but don't now. In fact, I came across the Steampunk Tarot because of this app. I can't remember the name of it now, but I just thought I downloaded an app just to kind of sit out of curiosity, and I came across, oh, this deck looks nice, I wonder if it exists. Bit of Google through later, it does exist, so I did that. And then I decided, when I first started up the Sicx Tarot website, which I'll probably be closing down actually at the beginning of next month. But when I started that channel up, started the website up, I wanted to do videos and blogs. And so I decided to download certain free apps and try and do reviews on them to see if certain tarot apps were quite useful. I don't think it's just something that never really got off the ground. But I think this was even before I started doing a lot of YouTube videos. But I thought about it, and outside of reviewing them, I have no interest in continuing. But I did, but it's that thing of, once I started getting used to just having a deck or two on me at all times, the point of having an app on my phone felt pointless, considering I'd have at least 2 or 3 decks in my bag. And, you know, I've got a shelf just there, just full of them. Why would I want to use an app? And there's just all here. That's where I keep all my tarot. But yeah, right. It feels a bit pointless at this juncture. Having an app would feel a bit pointless. So next we have, what is your favourite thing about the tarot community? That in my local circle, one of the things I quite like, local circle tarot. One of my favourite things about the community is the fact that it's a nice melting pot, which is an interesting thing, because I myself am a Christian, and so I believe in God with a big G, and Jesus with a capital J, etc. And so I've had that as a background. I've grown up with it. I mean, my actual name is very biblical, and so I've always had. So I myself have a religious background, or religious upbringing, and in this whole sphere, I've come across lots of people with different faiths. Obviously, I've come across a lot of people who are pagan and Wiccan rather, which is fine. And I always wind up having a better conversation about belief with people who aren't Christians than people who are, because people who aren't Christians, I find, don't have such a narrow perspective. Not saying all Christians have narrow perspectives, of course, but it's always interesting to get a different view on the same topic from fresh eyes. But anyway, and so like one of my friends, she's Jewish, who does cards, and she's learning mediumship and stuff like that. So the first thing is, I find that it's very diverse in belief systems, which I think's amazing and just good fun. And so I've had friends who talk about sort of deities that I don't necessarily believe in, but I'm not going to tell them they're wrong, because they're no more right than I am. So, but then that's just once again, that's just my opinion. The other thing I like about the community is that there's very few men, so I can claim to be one of the most handsome tarot men on YouTube. I think I can get away with saying I'm at least in the top 10. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, so the technical last question is tarot video ideas. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of the intros are ridiculous or stupid is just because, as I said before, a lot of when I came across a lot of YouTube channels talking about tarot, they're very standard, and there's nothing wrong with standard. But I'd also been watching Zero Punctuation, and I'd been watching the Jimquisition, and the Cinema Snob, and the Nostalgia Critic, and they've got, they have an intro. Their videos themselves are very funny throughout, or at least most of them are. And but the crux is they have a funny intro. They have kind of comedy throughout. They make jokes throughout. Now, despite how a lot of my discussion videos aren't exactly the most entertaining or the most humorous, you know, in real, you know, in RL, real, in the great outdoors of the real world, I'm the funny man. I am the clown, and grew up watching a lot of what's referred to as dad jokes, which is amazing because I am neither a dad nor particularly funny. But so whilst I started making my videos at the beginning, they were informative. You know, people said they were quite informative, and that's great. But I couldn't figure out how to add humour into my videos, because I'm like, if I'm standing here if I'm sitting down and I'm going through my deck, unless I make a funny comment about how something might look phallic when it's not intentionally supposed to look phallic, I'm not sure how to make that funny. So, and I wouldn't know how to construct going through an entire deck, or at least in the breakdown, to how to make them funny and how to make them funny every time, because they just might be like really great artwork. Once again, as I say a lot, they're great artwork, but I can't say anything funny about them. So my ideas were just like, sod it, I will just I'll do a funny intro, because that way it's a bit different than a standard tarot video, but at the same time I'm being as much as creative as I can with the content, because I can only be so creative by just sitting down talking about a deck. But if I make an intro funny and do a little outro, then at least I'm making something I want to make that's different, but I'm still giving people what they came to the channel to watch. And it's just people come to the channel and learn about tarot cards and discuss stuff. But at the same time, I still want to add something a little else, a little different, something I see a lot. The reason I watch a lot of YouTube videos is because I find them funny, and so I wanted to make funny videos. So my ideas, I'm just trying to I put more work into planning the intros than I do the main video, because I'm just essentially just writing a script, whilst this is just off the top of my head. But I want to try and make funnier intros. I want to try and, obviously I'm going to try and work on the quality of video, work on the audio a bit more, maybe upgrade some the video editing software, because at the moment I'm just using pretty much standard cut and paste style. But I want to try and work on the visual of the video and the audio, but at the same time I want to work and make my intros funnier, or at least make them better as well, just because it's a hook, and I like being funny. And if you ever met me in real life, you can see that I really try and be funny. But yeah, so, and at the bottom, and the last question is actually just who would I tag. So I'm going to tag some channels at the bottom of this, and as I said, I'm going to leave links in the description to all the people I've covered as well. So hope you like the video, and I'll be doing another response video to Katey's 2-part response video, well, not hashtag video. And I'll see you again. I'll probably have another video. I'll have a next video up next week, and between this video and the next video, I'll still have a forecast of the week, so check that out. I'll see you again soon. Bye.